Hi everyone, my name's Kat. I'm the clinic owner and physiotherapist at Shine Therapy Services. I use she and her pronouns, and today I'm doing a video for mobility and yoga inspired exercises to help you poop. So this is good for any age. It's an awesome way just to loosen up the muscles in the pelvis and help make bowel movements easier. If there's any positions here that we do that doesn't feel right for you, that hurt, that you're unable to do, you can skip it, you can modify it. Feel free to leave me comments and questions. It might not be modified for everybody, but this is a really good kind of general overview of things that we can do to help with bowel movements. So feel free to pick and choose what works for you. And yeah, let's get started. Usually I try to keep these videos really simple and just use the floor, the mat, and a wall, something that most people will have in their home. But today I'm going to recommend a stool as well. So we can use it for the video, or if you don't have one, you can use a stack of books, we can use a stack of pillows. Sometimes people have little like potty stools or kids stools for the bathroom around the house. Anything like that is fine. I do have what we call a squatty potty. There's lots of different brand versions, but it's something I highly recommend using for toileting for every age, no matter what, as long as you're not restricted in how much hip flexion you can do. So as long as you haven't been told that you're supposed to limit that, we can probably use a squatty potty, and we'll utilize that in our video today. So let's get started, just sitting on the floor and starting to tune into our breath. So I'm just gonna back up to my mat here. You can sit with your back against the wall, legs in front. You can sit cross-leg, butterfly, whatever feels good. And we're just gonna take a minute here to start deepening your breath. And think about starting to make those inhales a little bit longer. And then as you exhale, just letting your body relax, thinking about letting your sit bones sink closer to the mat, letting your legs be heavy. And we're going to continuously try to make that inhale just a little bit slower each time. Now on your next inhale, I want you to imagine that you're trying to push out a poop or push out a little fart, past gas, any of that kind of downward pressure that we do in those movements. But I want to see if you can do that at the same time that you're breathing in. So we're going to breathe in, bear it down, kind of like you're gently pressing out some gas, and then breathe out, just let your pelvis kind of move back to your normal. And we're going to try that again. Now some other cues that you can think about are imagining where your tailbone is, so kind of tucked underneath you, and we're almost thinking about uncurling it. So like that little opening movement of the pelvic floor is what we're looking for. So you can think of uncurling the tailbone. If you feel where your sit bones are on the floor, we can almost imagine that we're widening and lengthening the muscle tissue in between those two bones. So let's try 3 more deep breaths. And using whatever kind of cue works for you with the pelvis, if that's kind of imagining that opening between the sit bones, the uncurling of the tailbone, or that gentle downward pressure as if you're just trying to pass gas or have a bowel movement. All of this is happening as we inhale. So we're going to breathe in, lengthening the pelvic floor, and then breathe out, just letting it come back to normal. We'll do 2 more. Breathing in, lengthening the pelvic floor, breathing out, just letting it come back to normal. Breathing in, lengthening the pelvic floor, and breathing out, letting it come back back to normal resting tone. From here, we're gonna take our left leg, lift that up, and we're gonna twist it the opposite way so that your left knee is at your right foot, and your left foot is just kind of off to the side. Now, if this hurts your knee, a few things you can do. You can try flexing your foot, so you're kind of lifting your foot up towards your knee like that. Sometimes that can help. And then you can also sit up on a yoga block, bolster, pillow, anything like that, just to get your hips up off the floor. So if I use the stool, for example, we can sit up on here and have our legs in that kind of a position. So that's okay too. You can modify this as much as you need to. And if you are on the floor, you may notice that your left hip is kind of popping up like that. That's okay. That's where we're at today. As you're doing this breath work and breathing, we're just going to see if we can relax into that a little bit. See if you can make that left hip be a little bit heavier every time you exhale. And you might not get there today, but we're just slowly aiming that left sit bone towards the mat and sinking into this position a little bit more. And we're going to do 3 really slow, deep breaths here. And whenever you're finished that one, we're going to switch our legs and we're going to get our feet coming off to the right side. And again, we're going to do some deep breathing here. Feel free to sit up on a block or a stool, pillow, whatever feels good, and flex your feet if that helps your knee feel a little better. And this is helping to stretch some of those deeper hip rotators that connect into the pelvic floor and give them a little bit more mobility before we do a bowel movement. Let's do one more deep breath here. Very good. Okay. So we're gonna come up on our feet for this next one. So you can stand all the way up. And then we're gonna widen your feet apart. So a little bit wider than shoulder length. And we're gonna drop your bottom all the way down into a deep squat position. Now, this is where I like to use the stool so we can relax a little bit more. So you'll get the stool behind you. You can sit your bum on it. And that way you can get your feet a little bit more relaxed, your legs more relaxed, and we can kind of, I guess, ease into this position more than being really tense and active. Now, when you're in this supported squat position, just as before, you can use stacks of books, pillows, whatever kind of works for you. You can do some gentle, easy movements, side to side, or rocking back and forth, if that feels good. You can also have a little rolled face cloth that you just sit on, almost like a little bicycle seat with one end at your pubic bone, one end at your tailbone, and that just gives you a little bit more feedback and pressure on the pelvic floor as you're rocking and moving side to side. But just noticing how it feels on your sit bones, how it feels on your tailbone. And if you're feeling any stretch here into the hips, or if this feels pretty easy for you, and trying to do some of those deep breaths with the pelvic floor lengthening. So seeing if we can get that inhale and imagining those sit bones widening, imagining the uncurling of the tailbone, that slight downward pressure as if we're passing gas, having a fart, getting ready to poop. And we're gonna do that as we inhale. And exhale, just let it relax back to normal. We'll do 2 more of these, breathing in. breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. So hopefully this stool makes this position a little bit, excuse me, easier to do than just holding the deep squat on its own. But if you like to do that position kind of like a yogi squat, that's a great stretch as well. And you can use your elbows to kind of push your knees apart and get a little bit more what we call abduction in the hips here. And that'll give your pelvis a really nice stretch here. So feel free to do this as well. And from here, we're gonna come down onto our back. So we'll get the stool out of the way. And we're gonna come into a position that's quite similar to the squat that we just did. We're gonna grab onto each knee with each of your hands, pull your knees up towards your chest, and then let your legs fall out to the side. So we're kind of in that deep squat position, but we're laying on our back. And I just want to see, out of curiosity, if you try that pelvic floor lengthening with your inhale in this position, if that feels any different, if it's harder to do here, if it's easier. So remember, we're doing that as we inhale, gentle downward pressure, and then exhale, let it come back to your normal resting tone. And we're inhaling and lengthening. And exhale, let it relax. One more here, we're going to inhale and let it lengthen. And exhale and let it relax. Now from here, we'll get our feet down onto the mat. You can have your knees bent or legs stretched out in front, whatever feels good for you. And we're just going to start by doing some clockwise circles with one hand on your belly. So just going in a circular direction, giving the belly a little bit of love here. And it doesn't have to be anything overly specific, just going in circles. And noticing if there's any points in the belly that feel quite full, maybe a little bit hard, or if your belly feels really soft. And taking a minute to tune into what your bladder feels like. Do you feel like it's pretty empty, maybe somewhere in the middle, or do you feel like you really have to go pee right now? Full bladder feeling. And seeing if we can tune into some of the structures behind the bladder, so around our colon and our rectum, which is the last part of the body that holds poop before we go for a bowel movement. And sometimes that feeling can feel quite heavy. It might feel sore, like lots of pressure, or maybe you don't feel anything at all. That's okay. Just seeing if you can tune in to see if you feel like maybe you have to fart, maybe you have to poop, maybe you just had a poop before doing this video. And seeing if your body is giving you any signals there. And you can relax your hand down. And we're going to do 3 really slow, deep breaths here, just laying on your back, nice and easy. Noticing the rise and fall of your belly with each inhale and exhale. And we'll do one more breath here. Now let's let your knees fall off to the right side, and we're going to twist your torso over to the left. So you can take that left arm and reach it out to the side if that feels good, or keep it close to you. Whatever feels easiest and nice is completely fine. We're going to do 2 breaths here. And then we're going to move our legs to the other side. So knees dropping down towards the left, arm off to the right. And 2 deep breaths here. Bringing the knees back to the middle. And take your time. We'll come back up to a seat. So feel free to spend more time in any of those positions if that feels good for you. Try to grab a stool to have in the toilet and make the bathroom as relaxing as you can. Maybe put on some relaxing music, have some nice scents that help you feel relaxed. You can dim the lights. Anything that decreases the tension in our nervous system is going to help relax your pelvic floor for bowel movements. So hopefully this video is useful, and yeah, I look forward to reading your comments. Happy pooping!